All right, welcome back into the show, and we are on, I believe, episode 37, which is unbelievable. Things are going great here, and we got Jake's takes of the week. So I'm just gonna get started with talking about some stuff. Really not too much news. Not too much news. I'm gonna start in college football because this was week 0, and if you really look at it from a big time perspective, like the big time games, it's probably Notre Dame and USC. So let's talk about those two games first. And we got to look at Notre Dame. They ended up beating Navy 42-3 in unbelievable fashion. And if you're looking at it from a Notre Dame football perspective, you're like, Sam Hartman is that guy because he was flat out unbelievable in this game. I mean, I I wasn't able to watch this full game, but I mean, I checked the score about third quarter ish, and I was like, oh, maybe Navy could keep this close. No, they didn't keep it close at all. And looking at Hartman's stats, he was just flat out unbelievable. He was 19 for 23, 251 passing yards, and 4 touchdowns. Like, that's just ridiculous passing. And bringing in a guy like Sam Hartman, it's like, okay, he's going to up your offense and you're definitely going to be way more impactful at that end. And that's just what it was. Like, they were just so good. And looking at their running backs, Audric Esmond with 16 attempts, 95 yards. You love having a guy that can get 5 yards a carry. Jeremiah Love, their second running back, did well with 4 carries, 40 yards. And they got some decent receivers in Jaden Greathouse, who had 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions, 68 yards. I mean, they got some decent receivers, got some decent athletes. Again, it's only against Navy, so this was kind of expected. But looking at Notre Dame's schedule coming up, like, this is definitely going to be very interesting. They're going to have Central, which will actually be kind of a cool game. But they're also going to be playing Ohio State that next week at home, so that'll definitely be interesting. And they're going to be playing some tough teams. They got Ohio State, they got USC, they got Clemson. I mean, those 3 schools, that's very difficult. So starting out this strong, if you're Notre Dame, that's absolutely huge. And Sam Hartman taking these steps and showing that not bad teams aren't going to compete with us. We're just going to flat out dominate and he only had to play 3 quarters. I mean, it's just very impressive stuff that I saw from Hartman. And I talked about it a lot on the college football preview I did last week. I was like, this is going to be interesting. I'm not sure what to expect from this Notre Dame team. And that's why I had them as kind of my sleeper. It was like I wasn't really sure what to expect from them. And they really showed me that they're going to be for real and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see them. Their next few games are going to be interesting. They got Tennessee State at home, and then they go to NC State, which might be a little bit of a sleeper. I get it. NC State doesn't have Devin Leary anymore or anything crazy like that, but they have been bringing him some talent, and they're a solid ACC team. So that, I think, will be an interesting game. I think that would probably be the next time I kind of check in on them because I'm assuming they'll just handle Tennessee State. Again, last year they lost to Marshall and had some trouble last year, but I'm thinking with Notre Dame, I'm thinking they might be for real this year, and I'm excited to see them with a real quarterback in Sam Hartman. We haven't seen that in a long time. So if their defense can step up the way they did yesterday, and their offense can play with that explosion, like, people were nervous without Michael Meyer this year, but it seems like this offense has some flow. So I'm excited to see what Notre Dame can show in the future. Now let's look at the other game, USC San Jose State. A lot of people had this being a solid game. I was very interested in this game. San Jose State can have a pretty solid offense, and they showed it early. I came home from a movie with my family, and I just sat down to watch the game, and like we lost power all week, so it was a rough week. So I got home, we finally had power, and I was like, I got to turn on this USC game. This would be a lot of fun, and it was only 7-point game at halftime. It's 21-14, and USC, like, they were doing some stuff, but Caleb Williams didn't have as much time as I expected, and the receivers, while there was some athleticism, it wasn't crazy. And I mean, looking at the offense, like, they ended up winning this game 56-28, so they kind of put it open in the second half. And the drive I watched, Caleb Williams just flat out controlled it, and he had an unbelievable game too. 18 for 25 from the passing, 278 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was just flat out incredible. And then a guy like Austin Jones was great too. 6 receptions, 54 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marshawn Lloyd had 9 receptions, 42 yards. I heard a lot of good things about him. So those two might be super dynamic. But like, looking at this, 28 points to San Jose State, it's just a little shocking. And I get it. Like, San Jose State's a solid offense, like I was saying. That's why some people thought it would be interesting. But the defense just didn't look great. They weren't tackling well, just like last year. Tackling had always been a problem for them. So, looking at it that way, it's like a lot of people thought USC would be taking steps up this year. I mean, including me, I thought their defense would be a little better, and they tried really hard to get better on that end. But I didn't see it. I didn't see it, man. Like, San Jose State was able to have their way on offense. They were able to do some stuff. Looking at their quarterback ended up 21 for 38, 198. So, yes, they forced a lot of incompletions and a lot of short throws, but 3 touchdowns and 0 picks. Like, USC was known for at least getting some turnovers last year, and this year, no turnovers at all. And I mean, San Jose State was running all over them too. If you look at their running backs, Chevin Cordero had 10 rushes, 52 yards, which is great. And then Qual Conley was great also with 6 carries, 108 yards. It's like, if you're running that well on them and passing that well on them, it's not, like, that's not good, especially for USC that needs to be such a dynamic defense because yes, like, they were fantastic last year, but looking at their schedule coming up, like, they got some tough games. They got some really tough games. If you look at some of the conference games, they got Utah at home, which is absolutely huge, and having Washington at home is absolutely huge as well. But you're going at Colorado. That's going to be tough. You got Dion the effect, and that'll be interesting. But at Notre Dame is the game I'm really looking at. Like, Notre Dame's tough. They're very tough, and like, looking at USC and Notre Dame, we talked about it. They're both kind of similar. Notre Dame with more questions, but like, I feel like I have more of those questions answered. My questions with USC was about the defense, and the defense just hasn't answered my questions. They just haven't. They didn't tackle well. It didn't look good. So you're playing Nevada and you're playing Stanford, which is 2 very winnable games. So, and then you play Arizona State, Colorado. It starts heating up a little bit, and the first real test will be Notre Dame. So I need to see a lot more improvement from USC before I'm saying they're a playoff team, because I didn't have them in my playoff. I thought the Pac-12 was just going to beat each other up like they did last year, and I don't think this USC team is that dominant. I just don't. I think Utah with a healthy Cam Rising could be scary for them. I also think Washington could be scary for them. A lot of people are high on Washington. I'm one of those people. I like them this year. I don't love them completely, but I do like them. The Pac-12 is very difficult. It's going to be very interesting. They also play at Oregon later, that'll be a tough game. So, looking at it that way, USC, I'm excited for them, but their defense, they just got to figure something out. They really do. They just got to figure it out, and it'll be interesting. I guess we'll see, All right, let's move into the Jim Harbaugh situation. I talked about it a little bit. I think it was 2 weeks ago, how the suspension was overturned by the the NCAA Board of Directors. And now that's just gone because Michigan decided to suspend him on their own, which I think this was just a hope to not have this affect Harbaugh in the future and just kind of get it out of the way now. It's a 3-game suspension, so he's not going to be missing many games. Like, East Carolina is probably the only one we talked about that will actually be a big effect in him leaving, because I do think East Carolina could compete a little bit with Michigan, so I guess we'll see there. But again, like, I really covered this last time, so I'm not going to cover it too much. But looking at the Jim Harbaugh suspension, it's not that big of a deal just because Michigan's schedule is so light, and they're definitely going to be fine. Like, this team is so talented and so effective, and they have a plan for these 3 games. Like, they're very planned out. They're script oriented. It's going to be okay if you're a Michigan fan. I would not be too worried about the suspension, and I'm excited to see kind of where it leads. It's going to be interesting to see a Harbaugh-less Michigan, and a lot of people keep talking about Harbaugh probably leaving in the future. I guess we'll see there. There's a lot of stuff with the NCAA, and he doesn't really like the AD a lot, so I guess we'll see. I don't know. As a Michigan fan, I want him to stay. He's been great for Michigan. Early when I was growing up, Michigan stunk. They were just bad, and it's just not fun having those teams. So, I think some Michigan fans are taking these seasons for granted. I'm not. I love this. This is playoff. We're playing for playoff football every single year, which is awesome. It's flat out awesome. We beat Ohio State for the first 2 times pretty much since I've been a Michigan fan these past 2 years, and it's been awesome. It's been great. So as a Michigan fan, I want Harbaugh to stay. I want him to be Michigan for life. I mean, I just do. It's what I want. But I guess we'll see. Whatever happens, happens. I think the suspension's good. Like, try to not make the NCAA decide to do worse than a 4-gamer. So a 3-gamer will probably be good for Michigan to do. And again, don't think it's going to be too big of a problem. I'm excited to see how Michigan will do without him, though. All right, let's move on. I want to move into the NFL, and there was a trade that was announced while I was actually at the Tigers game on Friday, and it was very interesting. It was Trey Lance trade, and this one is very interesting, like extremely interesting. I was shocked. I was in Tiger Stadium. We were leaving an unbelievable Comerica game, Tigers versus Astros. And remember, Marty Hannon loves those Astros. Those are on the past Jake's Takes if you didn't check those out. But Meadows just hits an amazing home run. And the Tigers had been no hit before the 8th inning. So, like, it was awesome. It was flat out awesome. It was so great. And I was super excited. And then going home, we were at the game, and AJ's like, Trey Lance just got traded. And I was like, what? That's crazy. I got to talk about this on Jake's Takes on Monday. So we're here Monday, and I'm talking about it. Trey Lance traded to the Dallas Cowboys. They got a 4th-rounder for him, the 49ers. But if you're looking at it from the 49ers perspective, it's just so disappointing because Trey Lance could have been something really special in their system, and people were raving about him before the year last year. Super exciting stuff. And I mean, the Bears game, it's a tough estimate, but he didn't even look that bad. I'm very high on the fact that he didn't look that bad, and anybody playing in that kind of storm monsoon isn't going to look great. It's just the truth. But he still threw for 250 yards. He had 1 touchdown and he had 2 interceptions. It's not a great game, but it's not bad either. And yes, they lost the game, but also it leads, like, the 49ers were passing / running offense. The Bears are complete running offense. Fields was the least in the league in passing attempts. So looking at it that way, advantage goes to Bears. And the Bears were trying to compete at the beginning of the year. They were. They just flat out were. A lot of people had them near last, and they wanted to prove a point. And winning in a monsoon, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just hard to gauge. And then the next game, he just tears his ACL. It's horrible. It just flat out is. And looking at Brock Purdy, he was unbelievable last year and 100% deserves the job. 100%. And a lot of people can be nervous, like, oh, he's not even winning the backup job. Sam Darnold's beating him in the backup job. It's probably just a confidence thing. That's what happens to a lot of these guys after injuries. They got to get their confidence back and be slow on it. So I'm hoping this fresh start is really going to help him. He can just be a backup and learn under Dak. You know, he's got no pressure to come out and start right away. I think this could really rejuvenate his career and be like, okay, I could start figuring some stuff out here. I'm rooting for Trey Lance. I'm not sure if it will work out. I mean, this is just tough. It's very tough to get over the hump and get back and, you know, really be that guy that you were sought out to be. Like, people thought that he would just be unbelievable. So I'm really intrigued in what's going to happen here. He's going to be backing up Dak, and I don't see any, like, real competition between them. I could see Dak starting the next couple of years, and maybe it leads to Dak leaving in the future if Trey Lance is doing that well off the bench behind him. But if you're the Cowboys, why not take the swing? You know, this guy, the 49ers traded up for him for a reason. So, like Kyle Shanahan, a whisperer of quarterbacks, he knows what he wants. So, I guess we'll see. I'm rooting for Trey Lance, but it's a very interesting trade, and I was shocked when I heard the news. I was like, wow, you only went for a mid-4th, you know? It's very interesting, and I'm excited for it.